it should be flipped. There should be the executives marching around outside these beautiful complexes of human creativity, and they should be marching around begging for the luxury, begging for another approval, 2 or 3 years of approval by the workers for to luxuriate in profits that they don't have any fucking thing to do with creating besides the ability to go to meetings and conferences with other rich assholes who control the gates of wealth flow. All they do is just move money around. These pieces of shit. Somehow we imbue via ownership and the structural violence of the police and coercion into we give them all the power. They get to make decisions on every single thing because that's the flow of power instead of and I'm grateful this is done or close to being done. I'm be very curious to see how much what kind of, once the details are out, how different people respond, because I'm sure there'll be some that might not be happy with what's been agreed to. I'm very interested in finding out what the AI protections are. These industries are highly motivated with their Wall Street backers and their, private equity, psychopathic, profit-addled, I keep wanting to say freaks, but the vampiric mandate of capitalist extraction and maximizing growth, only shared a system and a process that is only shared by cancer, unlimited growth, unequal and completely consumptive runaway growth. That's the two things on the planet. I know that's oversimplistic. There's probably something else, but like our cancer and capitalism, and especially American power systems, American corporations. It's just freaking crazy. So I'm really glad that they're going to get back to it, and they're going to make some cool shows. And I still think some great shows and movies and whatever else comes out of these businesses and these efforts. But we're still missing out as consumers, even in a good year, even after this goes down and all these people can get back to work and start, doing what they do and exercising their creativity. And it's a difficult industry to be in anyway. I'm not going to act like I wouldn't take a writing job, but I had aspirations of becoming a screenwriter or a comedy writer or something like that. And I still would, but I don't pursue that. And I've hardly pursued it. I've written a few scripts. I just don't have that networking. Nothing of it ever worked for me. I just don't have it. These last several years have been just so fucking wacky for me anyway. But, it's such a loss anyway. Even in a good scenario, it's a gigantic loss of the fact that we all have to flow through these the gatekeepers, through the one of those. I think it might have been Zaslav. I don't know what maybe it was, but like they were watching Netflix on one of their yachts or something, and they paused it because it had nudity, and the guy insisted so why do we bottleneck human creativity through these things just because these people happen to have a ton of money and they have the backing of the gigantic money people in Wall Street and the investor class, and then they get to inject their morality into these things. Not that they have full control and they don't necessarily micromanage every single bit, but they choose who gets hired to control things, and it's still a huge loss overall. But nevertheless, we should celebrate that there's something here. It seems like people are really happy and relieved to finally be over. It'll be the last time writers have nice butts, at least until the next strike is required, when the AIs invent AI, and we have to then have double AI bosses. So here's a Today Show, my favorite source of news. Let's see what they got to say about this. This is from 3 hours ago, September 26, 2023.
Relief and cautious optimism from writers who've been out of work since May.
I'm very excited to actually read it and see what it actually is, but it feels good. There's a reason why we have tentative agreement.
After striking for nearly 5 months, this morning, leaders of the Writers Guild are expected to approve the tentative deal negotiators reached with the Studios and Streamers Alliance.
When people are in negotiating mood, things are going to get solved.
Neither the WGA,
that was Bernard Hiller,
nor the AMPTP, of which NBC's parent company Comcast is a member, is commenting publicly on the agreement. While the details are still under wraps, insiders say the proposal includes increased pay, higher residuals from streaming shows, and protections over the use of AI.
The Writers Guild says the deal is exceptional, so I'm really excited to see it.
So
Yeah, I'm not sure who that was, but I wouldn't. The fact that I was a little skeptical at first. Sometimes you hear about these union deals, and like I think I can't think of the one. I better not reference it, but no, the UPS contract was, there were definitely a kind of a vocal minority of people who didn't like that there were some of the compromises made to get that contract this earlier summer. They avoided the strike at that point. They were just about to, because as with all of these fucking things, the people in charge don't actually produce the profit. They're just gate switcher. They just control switches that control the flow of money, and that grants them the privilege of making decisions, because then they command the politicians and the police. Okay, I've already said that shit. So, but for the WGA to use the word exceptional.
how soon could your favorite
Sorry, I'm just trying to get to this
The
part.
Writers Guild says that
Right there. For the Writers Guild to have released a statement and use the word exceptional, you can see it right there at the bottom. We can say with great pride that this deal is exceptional, with meaningful gains and protections for writers in every sector of the membership. That's good. That's when kind of the switch flipped for me, as far as being enthusiastic about this deal, is that they called it exceptional. They wouldn't have used that word if it was just like, well, this might work. We'll see how you guys. So it sounds like the bosses had to cave on everything. There actually were some indications that, and I don't actually have the full knowledge in my brain right now about the California was, I think the state assemblies had passed unemployment insurance for striking workers, which means that that's a reduction in the coercive power of the societal pain that we like to impose. And the governor, Gavin Newsom, is a fucking piece of shit, been praising Reagan, which is an obvious indication that he's looking to run for national office. Although honestly, if it was Gavin Newsom or Biden in the Democrats, I would rather Newsom was it, but I don't like that piece of shit. And so like there's, is this the actual story? But I can't say for sure, but the ability for writers to feed themselves while striking is a threat to the bosses. Does that not illustrate how inhumane this entire structure is? Oh, crap. They can actually survive without our generosity? Fuck. Well, I guess might as well let them be paid enough to feel a sense of dignity that their time is being properly compensated. And it's something like 1 or 2% of overall profits in general, because it's all about control. That's the the giant river of pink ooze underneath all this stuff, is that you look below the money and the actual transactional realm of this. There's another layer of it, which is just about fucking power, ego, control, and controlling and manipulating societies and manipulating people. So if they were able, and it's not yet been, the unemployment thing has not yet been signed, so it's not official, it's not formalized yet, but that's a reduction in, I guess would say an increase in leverage. That's a shift in the leverage balance in this case. You got one group that has all the talent, all the power, or not all the power, sorry, but all the solidarity, the writers, the actors, the other unions that show up to support. You got the other group, the one I've been talking about, and there's a leverage imbalance. And so just the fact that they're allowed, that they might have been able to feed themselves and cover some of their rent was a threat, was enough of a leverage differential to make them concede to this stuff. And they so graciously agreed to this so that these creative people, the writers and the creative industry workers, can then continue to make them billions of dollars for their uselessness. That's what I also find is so weird. It's like, oh, okay, the AMPTP, the streaming companies, the distribution companies, their concession is that, okay, fine, you can come back to work for us. And there's actually been a lot of interesting people or interesting chatter I've noticed about people talking about, like, so now we got to go back to work for these people. Like, we got to, like, they wanted to hurt us. They were trying to starve us, and we have to go sit in meetings with them and tell them how much we want to work for them. Like, and someone I retweeted mentioned like a truth and reconciliation type process for that. But I mean, that's down. I'm kind of getting to the conclusion part. There's so much more to get into, but this whole thing has woken up people. everybody has, not everybody, but lots of people who may not have had their consciousness raised. And I've been on my own sort of version of this story myself with the way with what went down at the Young Turks and why we started the union there. The kind of elevation of your consciousness that comes from experiencing the feeling of solidarity. I was fired from TOT before, laid off before the union came forward, but I was in the core team of people who started that union, and the solidarity I experienced was something I'll never, ever, ever forget. How much that felt, and in contrast to the emptiness you feel from management, because you're always just viewed by them as like a tool to be, discarded. I got laid off. They tapped my shoulder at 10:30, and I was told to get out by 12. And they didn't tap and get out by 12, but then they brought me up for a meeting, and I had to be out by 12. Your job's over. There you go. Get the fuck out. That sucks. I mean, that's fine. I mean, that's what at-will employment is. And so you're disposable, I guess is what I'm trying to say by pointing that out, by bringing that up. But let's keep going here.
The deal is exceptional, so I'm really excited to see it.
So how soon could your favorite shows get back on the air? Two sources involved in the negotiations say late night and daytime talk shows are likely to be up and running within 2 weeks.
Stupid Drew Barrymore. Drew Carey, by the way, is showing up. He's the host of Bob Barker's television program. Drew Barrymore right there. She came out. I'm sure you saw that a couple weeks ago. She was going to do her show. I didn't even know she had a fucking show. Without writers, and everybody called her out. Same with Bill Maher, who wanted to do a show without writers, and of course he pulled back right away because he's a fucking talentless hack. Bill Maher has gone off the deep end, man. I don't know if he was ever in the shallow end to begin with, but he sure is on just like old man bullshit brain. But Drew Barrymore, man, she just torched. People went at her hard. This has never happened in the social media era before. So like people are just, the blowback is just immense. And there's a lot of people sitting around, myself included. Not that I went after Drew Barrymore or whatever, but like the signal boosting capacity of the platforms are major. Yeah. So I just got a text. And I think Drew Barrymore experienced that, and now she's taken a major hit to her reputation. I mean, how long will that linger? Will she have to make some statement? I imagine she might address it. I don't know. She's like a legacy Hollywood kid too. Her parents were all juiced into the Hollywood world over time, so it's not a surprise that she was willing to be a scab. But
talk shows are likely to be up and running within 2 weeks. But with actors still out on strike, production on scripted shows and films remains on hold.
I'm glad that one logjam was broken, and
Barry Gordon.
That means that the next logjam is going to be broken soon.
A senior member within the SAG-AFTRA union telling NBC News they hope to get a meeting scheduled this week. It would be the union's first round of negotiations with studios and streamers since the actors went out on strike in July.
One day longer, one day stronger.
While actors and writers have been fighting for many of the same guarantees around worker pay and protections, a source familiar with SAG-AFTRA's demands say actors have some unique concerns, such as health insurance and rules around self-taped auditions to create.
Only in America is health insurance a unique concern. Oh, you're one of those people who wants health. Okay, whatever you say, hot person, actor. God, it's so fucking gross that health insurance is like, it's obviously a good thing that unions are able to compel health insurance access out of their corporations. But my God, I mean, that's one of those things when we talk about Medicare for all and universal health insurance and single payer health insurance, and I'm for nationalized health insurance. I think the whole entire industry of of keeping humans healthy and alive and safe should be nationalized. And that's that would be a massive project, obviously. But what great power would we gain aside from the stress reduction of all that, which I think is immeasurable, and the material reality of people's lives being improved by access to healthcare. I mean, I have my own story about all that. You can see the wrist brace and the beard falling out and all the other things. I might have prostates in my butt. I got to have somebody check that. I'm of age. But in terms of union negotiations, the culinary union in Vegas is very big in Nevada. And during, I think it was 2016, I want to say, 2016 with the Bernie campaign, the Culinary Union, I don't have all the details precisely in my head. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but there was indications that they were like kind of, because there are some issues with regards to some of the more legacy unions that have older leadership. This guy, Sean Fain, is a newer president of a union. I think that's the word. What the fuck? I think I would know what word that they use for that. He's not the boss. There's no such thing as a union boss. That's not a thing. But they were suggesting that losing their union provided health insurance is a reason to not support Bernie. But just the fact that there's any health insurance involved in the unions is, like I said, that's a good thing that we can get stronger health insurance. But what if we just had this other system and then the unions could devote that capacity? It's like deleting some of the program from their current capacity from the RAM, and then they would have even more power, more leverage. Notice how humans being safe and healthy increases your ability to stand up for yourself. Because that's the anti-community impulse of capitalism, is to destroy your ability to stand up for yourself. And their favorite way, or among their favorite ways, is by preventing you from having backup, from being able to stand together with your own people, with others who are like yourself. It's what Cenk Uygur did at the Young Turks when he tried to bust the union there. Disrupting solidarity, breaking your ability to stand up for yourself, being offended at the notion that workers might want to have a voice where they work and over their own lives. And doing it as a group means that you have backup, means that you have community. That's all. All I'm talking, whenever I talk about solidarity and community, I'm talking about leverage. All those kind of concepts are sort of folded in on themselves. Let's keep going.
Create more equality when vying for a role. All that needs to be resolved and soon in order to get next season's summer blockbusters in theaters on time.
We can't stop fighting because we make the work, and when we fight, we win!
Nice.
Again, now that vote is happening in just a few hours. So if this passes, we could potentially see late night return early next week. Now, sources are telling me that the full industry is expected to be up and running by Thanksgiving. So that's sort of a very near end in sight. Sounds far away, but we're actually pretty close to Thanksgiving. So I am hopeful for everyone that people can start getting their paychecks again and get back to work.
Yes, good. Nice to see hopeful an end to this. Chloe, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chloe.
Thank you, Chloe. There's Al Roker, legendary American. Yeah. And so that the bosses can continue to make their billions and billions and billions of dollars. None of them had to interrupt anything of their life to do this. Maybe a couple of extra conversations with their attorneys and their consultants and all that shit. But like the price that the union workers had to pay just so that they could sustain enough of a career to continue this, what hopefully is for them a fulfilling and exciting and gratifying job. I feel like I'd be excellent in a writer's room somehow. I struggle with so many other things in life, but sitting around thinking of shit is about the thing I do easy. All for the benefit, though, of these, parasites at the top who aren't paying anything. This doesn't cost them shit. It's slightly less profits, but in terms of material difference, nothing. Just a bunch of analysts in Wall Street that might say, "Oh, got more," because this is an old story. You got the lazy, useless parasite class that manipulates culture and violence, and the violence that's offered to them via the machinery of ownership, to make other people do stuff for their benefit. That takes an awful lot of forms, obviously, but that's just the nature of collective society in a way, which is why we need to educate, inform, empower, and distribute power more equitably. That was